So I'm here at the International Astronomy Show with Reese. We've come back for day 2 and see a much larger number of people here today. This is a show that's run on an annual basis here just south of Coventry at Stoneleigh Park, and a wide variety of vendors come and sell their wares. And during the day we're going to be looking at a number of these different displays. There's also a range of talks which are unlike Astrofest. The talks are about an hour in length and on a range of topics which are often more practical, whereas Astrofest tends to get some of the big names. A brilliant alternative with a different emphasis, and always enjoyed every year. Yes, so hi Lee. Got Lee here from David Hines. Thank you very much for speaking to me. It's really kind of you. So I was just saying beforehand to you that I myself have got a bit into spectroscopy, so I'm leading a bit of a renaissance in the club on this. So we've got 2 or 3 members that have got the S100, SA100 ratings, and I've got a CCD spec from Ken Elliott, which, as you're probably aware, he doesn't make anymore. And I actually bought the last one for Peak to Value that was available. Right. But if any other member of a club was got excited, I know a number of people have got quite excited about the concept of spectroscopy. The DADOS has got to be one of the main cheaper competitors that's currently available. So we got that in the ALPY, and I was really pleased to see that you had the DADOS here. Okay. And so I wondered if you could perhaps tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, first of all, DADOS is Spanish for dice.
Oh, it's DADOS, not DADOS.
DADOS. You say tomato, I say tomato.
For dice, you say?
It's Spanish for dice, simply because it looks like there's 2 dice.
Oh, I see. Fair enough, yeah.
So why it's not German for 2 dice, I'm not sure, but DADOS sounds good. So what you've got is you've got the telescope input end. Yep. This goes into the telescope. Right. Okay. And then on here you've got an illuminator. Okay, and I'll come into that in a second. On here you've got an eyepiece which looks down into an area here which has got where the 3 slits are.
3 slits?
There's 3 slits.
Okay.
Okay. And there's 3 slit widths. So you've got a narrow slit, a medium width slit, and a wide slit.
So how wide are those slits?
Offhand, I can't remember.
Okay, fair enough.
But you can edit that bit out, I presume.
No, one of them will be 50 micrometers size too.
Yes, it is, It might be 25, 50, 75. I can't remember off the top of my head.
That sort of ilk anyway.
But what happens is that if you've got a bright star, you'd obviously use the narrow slit. Right. And then you've got something in the medium range.
Hi, I'm with John here from Peak to Value. Hi John, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
The International Astronomy Show. How are you today?
I'm not bad.
You're great.
But I'm hoping to show you a couple of nice bargains I have.
Fantastic. Certainly, we saw a number here yesterday. So
there you go. Well, firstly, this is pretty good for an imager or a visual astronomer alike. It's MegRes 90, very well crafted, nice dual speed focuser on it, FPL 53 lens with 621mm focal ratio. It's light, it's only 3.1 kilos, and the list price originally was about $995. We've got it today, offers about $550. We could even probably throw a William Optics 2-inch dielectric diagonal into that as well. It does have a soft case, so as a holiday scope, or as a bolt-on scope to your main telescope, or just as your main telescope if you're an imager, it'd be very good value. The other thing we've got, although we don't normally deal much in reflectors, we've got this Celestron Edge C8, immaculate condition. We supplied it originally, but the guys moved on to a bigger refractor, and these retail at about £1,200–1,300 normally. Hardly used, all the original packaging and all the original equipment, and this is available for offers over £600. So you won't find any other offers like that at this show, or indeed anywhere else, I think, at the moment. What do you think?
Looking around the show, you seem to be the person that's got the best offers, it seems to me.
Thank you very much, that's what I like to hear.
So, just in case anyone does want to contact you, so what's your email address?
Email, it's me, John, Peak to Valley, and we're at telescope@sky.com. Or if you can get along today. Pleased to see you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, I did notice before we were talking about this NPAE turret.
Yeah.
We're talking a little bit about it. So a big hefty bit of kit. You thought it would be very useful for school observatories and things like that.
It is a hefty piece of kit. It is beautifully machined out of aircraft grade alloy. It's very, very nicely anodized. All the fit and finish is first class. It really is an observatory piece of kit. But if you have a long refractor or a refractor with a heavy front end, you could use a turret to partially offset the balance so the telescope sits at a more reasonable height in the cradle. One of the beauties, if you read the equipment review, which was in a previous Sky at Night magazine.
Astronomy Now.
Oh, sorry, Astronomy Now magazine. The guy...
If anyone wants to look it up, that's Astronomy Now, August 2017.
And the guy there really missed not having it after he handed it back after the review. It is not cheap. Comes in at just under £2,000, but for the quality that's in there, it's immaculate. Really, what you could do, you see, you could have a spectroscope on there, several different eyepieces, and there's no need to refocus. It's all ready to go, so you very quick snap into position, and we all know time's at the essence when we're dealing with our weather.
And you've got this gorgeous diagonal as well.
Yeah, that's a diagonal, dielectric diagonal, and you put the filters just slide in there.
Very handy.
So you've got several different filters you can just drop in, and you're not upsetting your optical train.
Will that take a standard 2-inch?
It will, yeah, 2-inch standard filters.
So none of this business having to take your eyepiece out and having to...
Exactly.
I always thought that was quite gorgeous. And they put the brass compression ring on.
They've improved it, yes, they've improved it now. This is the Mark II version, effectively.
Is that still about £500?
That is £360 today.
£260. Brilliant piece of kit.
Okay.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about?
Well, if anyone's interested in electric focusers, we have 2 Starlight and Starizona focus units at splendid prices. What else do we have that's pretty good value? And of course, our telescopes are always good value as well. One of the features we have is the Panther mount, which is absolutely unique. You can actually set this up, and we proved this to Andrew last year. The owner, the manufacturer was here, and he set the thing up in about 3 minutes.
And I challenged him.
He timed him.
To do it.
He timed him, and it was 3 minutes. And to actually be imaging, accurate imaging, equatorial imaging, under 7 minutes. There is no other mount in the world that achieves that. So in the garden, if you need to move because of buildings or trees, or you want to take the mount out to a remote site, you can actually pack down, set up again, under 7 minutes, you're imaging. As I say, there's nothing else in the world to touch it.
How much does one of those Panther mounts?
Well, the complete setup as it is there, with the equatorial tracking, full database on the handset, weights, the whole shooting match, is about £5,500. Of course, there are show offers on today. Anyone wants to come down and bite my hand off?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that business of 3 minutes, because I remember last year I said, oh, well, you can only do it because you're practiced. And he said, fine. So we took it apart, and then I had to go, and I did it in around about 3 minutes. It was
so
amazing.
Quick. It is quick.
Absolutely amazing.
Very simple.
Gorgeous piece of kit.
And it sits very nicely with the refractors that we do. We have an oil space triplet here. That is a stunning telescope. If you are familiar with Strel ratio of that is 0.990. That's a remarkably good Strel ratio. Virtually well, it is colour-free. Imaging scope or a visual scope. And the benefit of the oil space triplet is that not only do you get more light transmission because there's only 2 air-to-glass surfaces, but you get faster cool down because of the intimate contact of the elements. So, as opposed to an air-space triplet, this will cool down in about 60% of the time of an air-spaced.
But don't use it to look at the sun.
Well, I actually asked CFF, the manufacturers, about this, and they have used it with no front filter on the sun. The mineral oil they use is so low coefficient of expansion that there isn't actually an issue. Personally, I wouldn't do it, but they said you can do it. Right. I leave that to you to decide.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good. Thank
See you again. Thank you.
So this is Tim from Dew Control, and he comes every year to the International Astronomy Show with a fantastic arrangement of Dew controlling kit. and he's kindly agreed to tell us a little bit about the stuff he's got today. Thanks very much, Tim. I'm really interested in what you were saying about the way they worked on pulses to try and act as a sort of dimmer.
Yeah, so it works in the same way you have a dimmer switch for a light. So it acts by switching on and off very quickly the heater element, and you can vary the width of that pulse to command the amount of heat into the strap. So a lot of the time you don't want your strap running at full power. So by using a controller, you can reduce that power.
About 60%.
That's running at about 60%, and that's lovely and warm.
Yes,
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to keep the optics just above the dew point. You don't want to put too much heat into the optics. You might start getting tube currents. So just by keeping the glass element just above the dew point stops the dew from forming. And by using a controller, it also allows you to lengthen the duration for your battery running. So
it's quite important these days.
Exactly,
yeah. Storing 2 or 3 amps.
Absolutely, yeah, very good.
Yeah. I got to tell you a story. My anecdote a few years ago, I had a Kendrick secondary dew heater on my Dobsonian, one of my Dobsonian telescopes, and I was driving back home from the event in the evening. It was an outreach event, and I heard a clink in the back of the car, and the secondary had fallen straight off the stalk, and the dew heater heated up the glue and melted it. I don't know what temperature it was, a couple hundred degrees maybe. So I think this is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking just down here, I see things like Bluetooth modules, etc. How do they work? How does that fit in?
Okay, so I do a range of other electronic goods. So I started by doing the EQ6, NEQ6, also the EQ5 and AZEQ6 Bluetooth modules. They work by replacing the handset on those mounts. So you don't need to use the handset anymore, you can use your laptop. Rather than having a wire trailing across for you to trip over in the night, it allows you to establish a communication between the laptop and the mount directly without any wires.
One other added advantage, it's not using up your Wi-Fi signal.
Absolutely.
Which means you can still connect to the internet.
Indeed, that's correct.
Which is what most people moan about, isn't it?
Yeah. So it works with the EQ mod software, which is free software. Very easy to set up. Just pair like a normal.
So if any of the members of Rossiston Astronomy Group wanted to buy any of this kit, what sort of price are we talking about?
Cheapest on the market. So for the controllers, I do a single channel controller at £29, a dual at £49, and the quad is £65. And for the Bluetooth modules, both types are around about £25. Whether you have it comes with a dongle as well, if your laptop doesn't have Bluetooth built in.
And more likely people want to buy a dew strap, I suppose. So
absolutely.
Your dew straps, where do they fit in the market?
We do a full suite of dew straps. They're the best quality on the market, made by my colleague Barbara.
Hello, colleague Barbara.
So these are from W&W Astro. I also do these on my website as well. And we go from anything that covers a 1.25 inch eyepiece all the way up to a 16-inch scope. If you want one for your laser pointer, so we have a collection here. We even do one for a laser pointer there to keep your batteries running longer at night.
Oh, I got to say that is the most. I bought one of these from you before. I remember a couple. I think most important thing. I mean, the speed laser pens go off at night. It's just incredible. Incredible.
So we do the whole suite.
And do I see you've even got one for an all-sky camera? Is there a dew heater on there?
Yes, I now. In fact. I produced one for a Telrad. You'll see that here. It sits. It sits just above, just below the glass. Comes with sticky back tape. Just take the backing off the tape, slide it in there, stick it down, and then that will feed straight into your controller, into your 12-volt source. Actually works a treat. I also now do one for an all-sky camera. A lot of people are using the ZWO ASI cameras. And that's what that one's been developed for.
Well, I'll tell you why that got my attention, because we had an all-sky camera making workshop at our group, and the one biggest problem is they dew up like nobody's business.
Very much so. So this maybe on the very, very, very heavy dewy nights you might struggle, but that should keep the dome free.
So again, for those two, how much are we talking about for those two?
It depends whether you have wires attached. I do different lengths of wires, or you can purchase them without the cables if you wish to solder yourself.
Okay.
But they start at £13 and if I remember rightly, £11 for the tail rad.
Those are the only wires on. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you both very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks very much. Cheers.
There's a couple of things that we found on this store here that I think might be very useful for the observatory. First thing, an Astro MC roll-off roof controller. I don't know if that could be adapted for the observatory.
It can.
Can it?
Right, the story is, 4.5 years ago we designed our own.
Yep.
But we bought all competitors out there
Yep.
to see what they were up about. I'm being recorded. So we bought the Foster's one,
Yep.
which is £350, but you don't even get a box.
Right.
Right, so that's why that one's on there. And then we designed our own.
Okay. So we're actually building an observatory at Rosseston Forestry Centre. So if we were going to use one of your kits to try and help open and close the slit, tell me a little bit more on practice how that would work.
The full package. Cloud sensor, rain sensor, ambient sensor. Obviously, rain hits that, sends a message for ASCOM, closes it. Parks the telescope.
Yep.
This also works with a lifting column, which is a hydraulic lifting column, which then lowers the column, parks the scope, closes the roof.
Okay.
All in that order.
Right.
And then vice versa when it opens.
And so a full kit to achieve that, what's the price that we're talking about if we were putting it into our budget?
Less than £500 for that full set,
Okay.
which is very economical.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
And the simple method, if you just wanted the cloud only,
Right, okay.
with a little adapter which clips onto the scope, it just reads only where you're imaging only.
Right,
and then
okay.
we'll send you an alert if it's got cloudy in that.
All right, so for somebody who's doing an
area.
imaging session, they're inside
Yeah.
and they're taking subs, and this is to tell them that they've got
And
problems.
both items will email you
Yeah.
or text you to
Oh,
tell
right.
you if you're out for dinner. Get on quick, I've just closed your observatory.
Oh, right. So what, do they use a Wi-Fi network that's in the area?
Yeah,
Okay.
integrates with Skype,
Oh, I see.
which will
Okay.
then send you a text message or a phone call.
That's very clever. We'll say very clever.
Yeah.
And on a completely different topic, I was looking at a few cables. Am I correct in thinking that what you've done with these two cables here is that you've got rid of the need for two separate cables from an EQ5 or a EQ6 mount?
These are to replace the handset because the EQ mod version
Yeah.
is like a Paramount Chinese version of. Well, that's the wrong way of putting it, I suppose. To do away the handset, it's more accurate on the
Yeah.
go-tos and
Yeah.
the facilities for ASCOM. So they're to integrate into
But
that.
traditionally, you needed two cables, didn't you? So, say you had an EQ5, you had the cable that went to an RS232, then you had to buy an RS232.
That's this one.
Yeah.
That's straight from chip, FTDI,
Yeah.
straight into the RS232. Two different products.
Right. But these one will go straight from the mount straight through to a USB with
Yeah.
it. So,
And so are they.
a definite improvement, I think, on some of the previous stuff.
And then we're changing all the stuff now to silicon, which is -40 before it gets hard.
Right. Okay.
So it stays flexible, which
Right.
improves your guiding
Okay.
because you're not dragging heavy coils around.
Okay. Yeah, proves so. So I can imagine people want to buy these cables in particular. So how much would we be looking at for those
They
sort of
are
prices?
£25, and same with them.
So around about £25.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for telling us about that. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a good day.
I'm still at heart a Dobsonian man. I say it's where I started, and this is the one for me. If I was buying a new telescope, this is the Hubble Premium Ultralight Dobsonian. It's a mere introductory price of £2,252, going up to £10,000. But look at this. There's hardly anything to it. It's just a metal frame, up and down, left and right. The focuser here is just incorporated. Nice dual speed focuser on the side. I do like a bit of solid. I know people make a big issue about secondary holders, but I like mine to be solid so they don't get broken. The mirror box is so small. I don't know what the overall weight of it is, but it's going to be a lot easier to carry around. You can imagine being able to take this with you in the car and go out to a dark sky site or up to the astronomy group at Rosseston and using it. And it's about the right height. I can actually get up to it without using a ladder. And this is for a scope, which is going to be about 14 or 16 inches, or maybe 12 inches in size. If you don't fancy that, they've got a range on this site. This is the Astro shop, which you might have seen online, and we've got a range of different refractors available, starting at this carbon tube at 640 euro, sorry, pounds, sorry. About £2,000 is all I got here, so you could certainly pay an awful lot of money. But if you were starting off in astronomy, and it's your first scope, something of this sort of size at £470, I think it's a bit steep myself, particular price, but Skywatch should do a small scope, around about the same size, £250 mark. Where are you going to go wrong with that? We've just discovered why this costs £470. This one's got integrated encoders on both axes and will connect up to your phone, and that's what the holes are there for it. It does that by Bluetooth, and it'll work with Sky Safari that we use in the club. So this will give you a push to, go to, using your phone as the hand controller. Although, a bit of a problem on its azimuth axis at the moment. A bit tight. So I'm at Astro's shop here with Stefan. Hi, nice to see you, Stefan. Thanks for speaking to us in the video. I came across this bit of kit that looked really very interesting and different.
Yes.
And so you were just telling me a little bit about it there. Yeah.
This is for attaching a camera with a large telephoto lens onto an equatorial mount. In this case, using a Losmandy style bar, and you can attach the camera with its normal photo thread here, and you can center or support the telephoto lens with these 3 screws. So you have 4 points where the camera, including the telephoto, is fixed on the mount.
Right.
And you can also build some smaller style below this Losmandy style, and then you can put it on a Vixen compatible mount.
Yeah. Hence why the screw threads underneath on those holes. Yep.
Yes.
Indeed, brilliant.
There's a photo thread here. Yeah. So if you have a longer bar like this, you can mount it below this one and put it on a
We don't want people to think that the only way you can do it is with a tiny little bar, and there's enough space to put a longer bar on the bottom.
Yes, you have to use a longer one. Yeah. And you calibrate the height of the camera body with this.
Yep.
And fix it here, and then you have the whole system mounted very rigid on your equatorial mount.
I think it's brilliant. I've never seen one of those before. Incredible. Thank you very much for telling us about that. Gosh.
You're welcome.
I tell you what, this is one of the things I did buy off you guys at one point. Very handy. Allows 3 finder brackets to be used at the same time. It also allowed me on my scope, because I had a problem that the normal finder bracket was in the wrong position. It was obscuring something else, so I could come off the side.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful that you made that, so thank you for that, guy. And what's this one here?
This is to be put on a camera also.
Yep.
Inside the box there's also a small bar which can be mounted here.
Yep.
And this fits onto the body of a DSLR camera.
Oh right, okay.
So you can aim at a constellation. If you cannot see the constellation or the stars in your on the camera screen.
Yep.
You can use this to aim at a certain point in the sky. It's like a tarot finder, something like this. It's a red dot. If you put it on,
it's a red dot finder for it.
And now you see a green dot, but you can also change it to a. No, yes, you can also change it to a red dot. Now you have a red dot.
Another brilliant idea.
To look through. But do not forget to switch it off, because if you go out for astronomy in 4 weeks, the battery will be empty.
Absolutely, good bit of advice. Well, thank you very much again for showing us those.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Here's something else at Astro's shop. It's quite interesting. Little models of the planets that you can buy. The big one, which is I'm assuming is an accurate scale model of the moon. That's actually quite expensive. It's £200, normally 222. It's about 10% off. Apparently the whole solar system set itself is, I'm not quite sure if you get the whole solar system. Maybe all of these, it looks like each of these little ones pops into there. That is actually £95, and the tiny little moon will cost you 35 quid. I like the big moon. 200, maybe it's steep. I'm always surprised that people are still selling these. When it came out, it was a great idea. Can you see it through there? Can you actually see anything? Yeah. So the idea is just like a phone, or we do now with the phone app, we can now actually move it around and it moves around the sky and it actually gives you some sort of talk about it as well. But I'm surprised a little bit that they're still being sold, given the number of apps that are around that seem to achieve about the same thing. What do you reckon? What makes these still sellable?
I would say it makes it sellable that you can remove the front and then you see the night sky with your naked eye and the image of the app on top of each other.
Oh right, so you've got that. Okay, that's because it's different to a mobile phone. You literally overlays the sky and you can see both the other. Oh right, yes. Okay. Whether you can pick it up on the video camera there. Can you see it through there at all? And can you see the background through it as well? Yeah. So that's a bit of a novel feature, isn't it? Yes. Sorry. There's something else you were going to say. Sorry.
Excuse me?
So was there something else you were going to say?
Oh, it's also very clever in the app. If you look at the star, at the real star, the app thinks, well, if you look at this point, there's some important thing here, and then it adjusts slightly the 3D model of the stars to move it and correct it so that the star of the app shows always exactly at the star in the night sky.
Right, okay.
So it's self-correcting, but of course it depends on your phone's sensor quality. If you have an older phone, then it's not that much fun.
Right, okay. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. I remember seeing these books coming out. Sky and Telescope made a big issue of them. It's meant to, the Annals of the Deep Sky is meant to be a really comprehensive account of the night sky. It's supposed to be something definitive for the future. And they're producing a range of volumes. I don't know how, I think it looks, there's 4 listed there. I think maybe it's, that's the first 4 that have come out. I think there's a lot more to come. But it's the first time I've ever had a chance to look inside one of these books. They're running at £20 each today, normally 27. A survey of galactic and extragalactic objects. So we've got, by constellation, a whole range of different things, including spectrograms and all sorts of historical and other observing information as well. So it's meant to be an up-to-date account of objects. My biggest worry would be these are coming out every few months. By the time the last one comes out, the first one is bound to be quite out of date with the way that things are developing in astronomy. It's difficult to argue that buying these books is a definitive encyclopedia, when in fact you can go online and get something that's far more up to date. And by the time it's finished, it'll be several hundred quid. So it's still at the Astro shop, a lot of interesting gear on here. Firstly, I noticed a couple of Bino viewers. These are running at, depending on which one you go for. One of them is 150, one's 300. I'm not quite sure what the difference between the two is. But there's some beautiful bits of moulded kit. And then particularly I wanted to point out one of these. An Omegon and little small binos. I'm not quite sure how many times magnification it gives, but it's one of these ones where you can look through it just like the Vixen's ones that there used to be, or you can still get. And it gives you that still that experience that you can easily look around the sky, easy to hold. And unlike a telescope, you're not trying to orientate yourself and trying to find things constantly, because the magnification is still low enough that you can still work out where you are, similar to your normal eyes. Now, I don't have one of these Omegon ones, but I do have a Vixen one, very similar to it, and Damon and I both bought them this time last year, and they were on discount, and they are brilliant, because you wouldn't think that 1.5 times magnification, 2 times magnification, whatever it is, actually makes a massive difference. But in fact, it does pull out a lot of details in the sky that you don't normally see. And things like meteors become much more obvious. I haven't had a chance to use it in a meteor shower yet, but I mean that's the most obvious time to get out there, because I'm sure it would dramatically increase the number of meteors that I see. The Omegon ones, unlike the £200 odd Vixen ones, these are coming in, I think at around about the 140 mark. We asked the guy yesterday when Jeff and I were here. So cheaper. He certainly claimed it was better made. I don't know whether that's true or not. What I do notice is plastic at the bottom here. The Vixen ones had metal, which was certainly rather cold on your eyes. And he also pointed out that there's actually a thread on the inside of the external surface here, or the external tube, a little bit of dew tube outside the objective, so you can actually screw onto there 2-inch UHC or oxygen 3 filters. That would be fantastic for trying to see nebulae. Be brilliant. The Vixen ones, I think, don't have that. Don't take it for it. It's like 2.1 times 42. So it's 2.1 times magnification on that with a 42-degree field of view. Now, 15 by 70 binoculars. These ones, completely different kettle of fish. 15 times is supposed to be the maximum times that you can meaningfully carry without using a tripod. Holding these now, I can do that, but I certainly wouldn't want to hold with it for half an hour or more. But I have used this size of binocular before. Handheld, you can stick them in your in the bag with you and take them on holiday. It's convenient as well at the moment. These ones are running in at £350 at the moment, a very hefty piece of kit. But I point out you can get much cheaper versions of these, and a number of Rosiston members last year bought an alternative 15 by 70 or thereabouts size of binocular last year for around about the £20 mark, which turned out to be quite good. But if we compare the difference in size between that, the 15 by 70, and now going up to what we got here, which is a 25 by 100 monster. I mean, the view is incredible, the magnification is incredible, but you are carrying two lots of 100mm refractors next door to each other. It's a definite heavy-duty job to try and carry those, and those would be very difficult to use without a mount. Indeed, I wouldn't recommend anybody trying to use one of those without a mount. I would question how much you get out of it. Some people are great fans of large binoculars, and I don't want to criticise those people. I personally have a problem trying to bring to focus both eyes on binoculars, particularly with big binoculars. And the other thing is, you get a lot of those being sold on eBay where they're sold as having a slight collimation problem. If they get knocked, the two tubes get knocked out of collimation with each other, and they're a nightmare to fix. Although I have seen Lee Bale at the club do an excellent job of sorting it out. So, but be careful of those. 15 by 70, recommended all the time. Not a necessarily £350 bear, but the traditional one of those was the telescope house version, which used to sell, I don't know what it is now, it used to sell for £45. Can't tell you today because they haven't come. Can't tell you what their price is. These ones, unusual, most people don't own them, but if I was to suggest people buy something new and different, I would go for a pair of these Omeguns any day of the week. So again, still at Astor's shop, we haven't got past here yet. Just noticed a couple of off-axis guiders for those who are photographers in the club. And I thought I'd just point out a feature of these, which I found quite interesting looking at them. The way an off-axis guider works is you can stick my finger right the way through there and join it. So it's just a tube mostly, which just allows the light that goes to the camera, comes still the straight way through. That's actually the one that goes to the telescope, comes out that side. But at the top, in light that isn't used by the camera, it just gets taken off by a little prism which brings it up to the top, and so that you could stick in a guiding camera in there. There's only one slight problem with this. You focus the whole device to allow your camera at the end here to be in focus, but it's highly unlikely that your guiding camera is now going to be perfectly in focus. So this particular one has the option to move that tube up and down slightly to try and achieve that focus for your guiding camera. But if you've got some more money, with greater costs, as you might expect, they do an alternative version, and this one has a gorgeous inbuilt microfocuser, so that you can now focus it for your camera on here. So that's one of those in the telescope. Camera will be attaching here, focus it for that, and then use your microfocuser to get your guiding camera perfectly in focus at the same time. While it's there, I can see out the front. Very similar, of course, to a flip mirror, except by just using the top bit. So there's the flip mirror again, as we saw before. You can just move it up and down. I don't know if you've heard the video of this or not, but you can actually just change the mirror, and it changes it from giving you a view, which is going out where the telescope would go, there, or lifting up the mirror back to ourselves here. So back to ourselves, down to the telescope. So this is designed to allow you to have your camera at the end, your telescope at the other end, You can find your star by using a normal eyepiece here. Start with a normal eyepiece here, and then you can use the flip mirror, then put it onto the camera. So a couple of other things came across is this alignment tool here. It goes on the top of your telescope, and then you can, in a very precise way, you can turn that to change the sideways motion, or there to change the height between the two sides, so you can actually accurately align a guide scope onto the top of your normal telescope. We've got a couple of focal reducers here. So this one just screws onto the bottom of your camera or the bottom of your eyepiece and gives you 0.5, reducing the effective magnification. It's the opposite of a Barlow lens. This does mean that you need a lot of in-focus to be able to get into focus. The advantage of this is it goes into the focus tube itself. I'm not quite sure what difference it makes with one of these. Perhaps I could ask one of the members of staff there.
Yep.
Hi Carlos. So,
hello.
I'm just thinking of this, right? If I had this on my telescope, clearly let's screw this onto the bottom of the eyepiece or the bottom of the camera, and that would effectively reduce my focal length by a half. But I need a certain amount of in-focus for this to be able to focus. So I need to be able to rack the focus in.
That's the way it is, yeah.
I look at this, which is an independent device that sits on it, and my immediate thought is, well, you've got this amount extra sticking out the end.
Yeah,
Does that mean I need that amount of extra in-focus as well? Oh, right, okay, I see. So that does the same thing. That can still just screw onto the bottom of your lens or your camera.
Yeah, that's it. So you remove this, if you need that focus, there you are.
And that's just a T2 adapter, is it? Okay, wow. So
I think it's M48. Oh, I need to check.
it's okay. So how much would one of these cost, please?
Just a second.
That's the
I got you.
a Pro Reducer. Would it be £95? Here we are. Pro Reducer, £95. Yeah, it's a gorgeous bit of kit.
Not the one. This is this one.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is the reducer for. There's a RC. That one.
Yeah, £95. Okay.
It's
Thank
very secret, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
So we're at Space Rocks UK. Opportunity to see a whole range of meteorites here. Starting off, we've got down here, we've got a little bit of an iron meteorite there. So I'm looking at it and I can see the chondrules, little round inclusions that are inside there. I've actually got some thin sections of meteorites at home, and you can actually then magnify them further and see the mineral structure. When David here was giving his talk earlier this morning, he was telling us about the effect of etching on these meteorites, where the crystal structure shows up, and he was saying that's probably due to a fracturing effect during when the original impact in space occurred that broke the meteorites up. So these, and he mentioned the Campo del Cielo meteorites. How much does one of these cost us? If you want one this size, I'll put you back a mere £420. He did mention the fact that they rust very quickly. Here's an example of one that's already starting to rust. That was still 300 quid. And then we've got Sudbury Crater. Anthroxylite, I think this is one of the ones he said is quite expensive. You see the large chondrules in there, the large circular inclusions. No price on that particular one. What else have we got? Palisite. I remember he told us in our talk about the chap that originally discovered this type of meteorite, and apparently he has a city in Russia named after him, as well as the whole set of type of meteorites there. That one is £1 a gram. What else have we got? A whole variety of different things, including, sorry, if you wanted just a little bit of the iron meteorite, you can buy tiny bits for £5 each if you want. But this one's quite good. Opportunity to actually pick up and hold a meteorite. 250 quid if you want to buy it for yourself. What's neat, it shows you the magnetic effect. The magnet on there doesn't fall off. And it actually shows you the thing that really strikes me about these meteorites is that when you look at them, it looks as though it was a craggy rock but somebody's melted something over the top that fills some of the crags and the sharp edges. And indeed, that's the fusion crust as it comes to the atmosphere and melts. And you can see it, and it gives you that fingerprinting effect, which is Eichwitz are famous for. So that's a lovely piece. £250, a bit too expensive for me to buy, but certainly a wonderful opportunity to pick it up, hold it. Not many people will give you that opportunity to do that. So incredible. When you feel the weight of some of these bigger ones like this, oh dear me. I'm with Phyllis and Mark from Deep Sky Planner. Nice to see you both.
Lovely.
And so I'm Andrew, saying from Gloucester Astronomy Group. And we were talking a little bit a second ago about this software. I don't use any planning software at the moment. I just use Sky Safari. And so if I was to buy something like this, how would it integrate with Sky Safari?
Well, you would develop an observing plan here.
Yep.
And you might sort and filter it to suit your telescope or your imaging combination, whatever. And once you have the plan file developed,
yep,
you can export it to Sky Safari.
Right.
And you would read it into Sky Safari and use it as a custom observing plan.
Yeah, it comes up like a .sky list sort
Right,
of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you would use the Sky Safari from that point to select the objects in the list. So after the new year,
yep,
I plan to have a mobile version of this available.
Right.
And so you would be able to do the planning viewing on the iPad.
Yep.
And use Sky Safari on the same iPad.
Right.
What I also hope to do is to have a facility where Deep Sky Planner on the iPad can center the chart in Sky Safari on the same iPad. So you would be able to get the list and the planetarium view at the same device.
Yep.
So I've spoken to the developer of Sky Safari about it. He said there's a way to do it. So I'm reasonably confident that that will follow.
Sounds fantastic.
Oh, it'll be great.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Great.
Maybe it's definitely the way I should go, possibly. So thank you very much indeed telling us about that.
Okay.
And you're from Carolina, you
We're
said?
from North Carolina.
So what is it like observing the night sky in North Carolina?
Well, it depends on the time of year.
Yep.
Our summers are very hot and humid and hazy. So it's okay for planets and double stars, but not for deep sky objects.
All right.
The rest of the year,
Yeah.
it's better for deep sky objects. So
Right.
there is some light pollution. We have to go away from the city.
Yeah.
And other than that, we observe, we image.
I'm the imager. She's a visual observer.
Yeah.
All right. So your imaging, can you do that within the city, or do you have to go outside as well?
I do a lot. I do a lot for my front yard, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And he uses this to plan.
I'm sure he does.
Because we have, yeah, that wasn't fair. So at our front yard, there are trees, roof lines and things. So we developed a custom local horizon. So if he wants to look at the latest asteroid or something, he can look up the asteroid here, compute where it will be at the time, and look at it against our local horizon. So he knows when he can get it.
Does it tell you when the clouds come over as well?
No.
You can't plan for that, isn't it?
No, not yet.
It's a shame. If you can put that feature in, I think it
Well,
would be
we're working
worth
on
its
that.
weight in gold.
That might take a little extra time.
Oh, right, okay. So thank you very much for telling me about that. Really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
And I look forward to that mobile app, definitely.
First quarter of the year.
First
Quarter of the year.
Brilliant. Thank you
Stay
very much.
tuned.
Thank you. A few years ago, I used to own a very large pair of binoculars. I got rid of it after 3 months. My main problem was that I didn't know how to mount it. Now, this very gorgeous pair of Altair 100mm 45-degree binoculars that comes at $1,299 has beautiful images looking through it. Absolutely gorgeous. But what's of more interest today is the mount. I don't know how it costs, unless there's the price on it there. Hang on. Now that's just, centre arm tripod mount, 169. I don't think that's too bad when you look at it. big solid, unless it just refers to the head. But the is a somewhat plasticky, it doesn't feel particularly strong thing there, but you undo it, and then that allows you to move it up and down like this. So you've got the option to go up to the up near enough, not quite, it's hitting against there. I suppose if you move it around a bit, it would, up to the zenith, and then down to the horizon. And being 45 degrees, you still look, although I would just say that trying to get down here and look up is not going to be an easy experience. But about this sort of level, I suppose you can achieve it just about. Always the problem with binoculars. As far as movement, that's in the altitude. In the azimuth, it does seem to have a reasonably smooth azimuth, which you've got a locking knob which you can vary a bit. Quite how that works in there, whether it's just digging against the metal or whether we've got a ring in the middle, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, it's a stable mount for a large pair of binoculars to give you some brilliant views. The eyepiece is supplied with these particular binoculars. They look, I'd say 65 degrees. So these are 18 millimeters on here, so you'd have to have a series of eyepieces to go and some matched pairs. Still don't know, I still probably prefer a telescope myself nowadays, having tried the binocular bit before. But those are just giving absolutely amazing views, I've got to say. And it even looks to me like I can integrate the images on both sides, which is very unusual. Just tells you how good they are. I'm very pleased to come across one of these. The other day, I was reading one of the magazines about this, either this mount or a very similar one, the Ioptron CGM 60EC. Now, what's important about this is one of the centre balance mounts. So if you bring the video camera around here, what you can see is that we've got the axis coming down here, and normally in something like a Skywatcher mount, that will be going straight through, but you can see that there's actually a staggered sort of Z shape bringing it down outside the axis where it comes in. And this actually takes the weight more across the centre of the mount, and apparently it makes it far more balanced, especially when it goes in one direction versus the other. It was certainly being lauded. I forget which magazine it was I was reading, but they were saying how fantastic they thought this mount was. It looks like Ioptron have bought in a range of these. I'm not sure which was the one that was in the magazine. It might have been the 120 rather than the 60, but you can see this larger cousin here. We're now talking at, I think actually this was the one, because you've got 3 different price ranges, depending on how much in the way of encoders that you put on the different axes. I'm not sure how portable I would say this was for taking out in the field. But nevertheless, it's an amazing bit of kit. This one possibly a bit more portable, depending on your definition of portability. But a mount and a half, really. I'm at Rother Valley Optics, and I think I found what must be close to one of the poshest headlamps out. LEDs, obviously red colour, white colour. Battery pack at the back. Apparently lasts for 4 hours. Beam distance 50 metres. Can't quite see a price on it, so I don't know how much it cost you, but if the way it's displayed is anything to go by, it's going to cost quite a bit. There's an amazing amount of hardware available, including a variety of different colours of bit of metalwork to go on your telescope if you wanted. And over here, I noticed that Antares are now offering a range of Barlows. We've got 1.5 times, 2 times, 3 times and 5 times. So just about any size you need for your scope now. So at Rother Valley Optics, this is interesting. It shows the new Rowan belt drive option on the new HEQ5 Pro. So this would give you, I assume, better periodic error. This one, interesting, put on just a small little 72 ED EVA star. Obviously, it'll take a jolly sight bigger telescope than that. I've got an old HEQ5 Pro. Quite like the idea of having it modified though. had to get Lee to do it. One of the things that always surprises me about these astronomy conferences is these little torches you can buy, complete with a red LED on the end. Okay, very convenient. Price is probably around the £10 mark. But I suppose the question to ask is, if you bought a £1 LED and put some red film over the end, would you be substantially worse off? Reese and I have just been outside the International Astronomy Show in the roadway outside, and Gary Palmer has had one of those new quark solar telescopes that we looked at before out on a mount out there. He's waiting for the sun to come out for people to have a look. While he was doing that, he gave us an opportunity to ask him about what the difference was between this new 695 solar scope from Daystar versus their £1,100 quark. Because certainly looking at the scopes, it looked like it was just a quark perched on the bottom of a 60mm scope, and it therefore doesn't seem logical. He has explained to us that the mica-based Etalon filter that is inside the scope is of a different size. So the one inside the 60mm scope is substantially smaller in size than the one that's inside a quark. And this is because it is aimed only at a 60mm scope, and the quark one is designed to be used from 60mm up to 150mm aperture. In addition, the actual accuracy of the mica is not as good in the 60mm specific quark that's used in the cheaper scope. So there is a real difference between the two. So if you're thinking of buying a Daystar solar scope, the 60mm scope is good for what it is, but it's optimised for the 60mm aperture only. If you want a quark that will work in a range of refractors up to 150mm, you need to still buy a separate £1,100 quark.